Hello again. So a little bit about foot care now and blisters and that sort of thing. Um, Obviously, you're going to be walking for several hours each day over a space of about 3 or 4 days. So blisters are a real risk for you. Um, Prevention obviously is much better than cure, and so I've got a few ways here that are tried and tested to prevent your blisters. Um, First one, most importantly, really, is a decent pair of well-fitted boots. Um, Make sure they're well broken in. You use them plenty of times, and they're laced up to suit your walking style. Um, there are several ways of lacing your boots to relieve pressure on certain points and that kind of thing. So have a little play around with that, see what works for you, and again, get online and have a look at different lacing styles and see if anything else helps you out a little bit. Another thing is your socks. One of the main reasons for blisters, basically, well, a blister happens from friction in your boot. So you got your socks rubbing against your skin, causing friction, and that in turn causes blister to come up. Um, so what I do is wear a thin pair of socks um, on my foot, and then I wear a thicker pair on the outside. So that way the friction then goes between the two socks rather than your sock and your foot. So there's actually no friction to your foot itself, which should hopefully relieve you of any blisters that way. Um, some brands make socks in. They have one sock where it's got two skins, so it's a double layered sock. So rather than having to wear your own two separate pairs of socks, you can wear one pair that has got two layers. So they will slide on top of each other. One of the best brands for that is the 1,000 Mile socks. But again, obviously, you can probably buy cheap ones in Mountain Warehouse or anything like that, or online. Um, if we're if your well-fitted boots and your good sock combination doesn't work, you're going to need to start using sort of other precautions. For example, tape. Um, so also that's also a good one if you have got a good combination, but all of a sudden for some reason you do start getting a blister. If you carry around some zinc oxide tape, um, the best stuff you can get is don't go to Boots and buy the sort of the brownie coloured stuff. Get some decent stuff from like maybe a military shop or something like that. It's a place in Preston called Camouflage that probably sell it, I imagine, and there's a couple of places up in Exeter as well on the high street that sell it. So zinc oxide tape. The thicker you can get it, the better. This is actually quite thin, really. If you get a nice fat roll, it covers more skin without having to layer it up too much. When you put this on, it's best to do it the night before, really. So what you want to do is have nice, dry, clean feet. And if you put this on its own, it's okay. But as soon as you start sweating and that, the corner's going to start peeling off your skin, and they can lead to tape just rubbing off altogether. So what you can do, some of this stuff here. So this is Friar's Balsam, also known as tincture of benzoin or something like that. Tink Benz. If you get some of this and you sort of dab it onto the area first where you're going to be putting the tape, a nice generous dab of that, give it a few seconds, it starts to dry and go quite tacky. When it goes tacky, then put your tape onto your foot, onto your sort of your blister prone spot, and make sure you get all the corners pressed down really carefully so that there's no sort of little kinks in the tape, and it's properly secured to your foot. Give it a little while to sort of dry, like overnight, and then you should find that tape is well and truly stuck to your foot, and you shouldn't get any friction and cause you any blisters. Yeah, the only sort of downside to using that stuff is that it's really hard to get the tape off afterwards. But if you soak it in the bath or use some surgical spirit and that kind of stuff, it will eventually come off. But obviously, I'm sure you'd rather have no blisters than be stuck with some tape on your foot. Blister plasters, you can get these Compeed plasters as well. They're really good, although they do have a tendency to sort of peel off, especially if you get particularly sweaty feet and your boots or socks are rubbing quite a lot. They will rub off fairly easily. If they do, they start rolling up in your boot and causing more problems. Blisters are formed obviously because of the friction in your boot and your sock, but also one of the major contributors is moisture. So if you get particularly sweaty feet, it might be worthwhile taking even more socks than you would do. Changing your socks regularly and just keeping your feet as dry as you can, because if they're dry, there's a lot less heat created, and it's a lot more comfortable for you, and you should get less blisters. So dry feet, well fitted boots, good sock combination, and as a precaution if you need to, some zinc oxide tape or blister plasters. If you do get a blister, it's best to pop it rather than leave it as a big bubble, but you don't want to obviously pop it and sort of leave it a big gaping hole in your foot. So the best thing to do is get a sterilised needle or pin, sterilise it over a flame from a lighter, slide it up against, so where you got your skin there and your blister there, try and sort of get it in the top here, or in the bottom rather actually, so in the bottom of against the skin, so that then you can put a little hole into the blister, squeeze on it gently with some kitchen rolls and tissue, and sort of squeeze all the fluid out, and then give it some time to dry in the fresh air. That way you've got the minimum sort of flappy skin, which will peel off otherwise and leave you open to infection, that kind of thing, and your sort of blistered skin should sort of stick back down again and dry up quite nicely, and it will be a lot less uncomfortable for you. I think that covers it for sort of blister and feet care. I should say on that, another thing on foot care, I mentioned before about sticking on a nice pair of dry socks when you get into the minibus at the end of your walk. Better than that still is take along a pair of flip-flops or something like that, and take your socks off altogether and just go barefoot in a pair of flip-flops. The more fresh air you can get to your feet, the better. It will keep them drier, and that way the feet, they go less soggy then and less prone to trench foot or sort of blisters, rotting skin and that kind of stuff. So dry your feet out as much as you can after your walk, and that should hopefully keep you going blister free, or at least fairly pain free for your walk. So that'll do for that one. I'll see you again in a minute.